Introverts, how did you meet your girlfriend? I was rather flirtatious and he was very soft-spoken. He played football, is over 6 feet tall, perfect olive skin tone interrupted only by a thick beard, super handsome, physically my dream guy. We volunteered at church together with high schoolers. We went on a trip with them, and my fancy-ass Victoria's Secret scents were refreshed about every hour. They were abundantly thick in the hot room where people were gathering one day on the trip. He was already sitting down on a step and I sat right up next to him even though there were tons of seats. You're really attractive to me, and I want to be touching you, okay? I shamelessly looked into his eyes so that he would notice my luscious lashes, and hugged his arm in a PG-13 kind of fashion. He laughed and agreed to this arrangement, even though we were sweating from the heat already. I told him he should have my number, but didn't think he would do anything about it because he was so quiet. When we got back to our normal lives, he ended up texting me an inside joke the moment after I read a "let's get together and talk about us" text from an ex. My introverted guy texted me something that made me laugh out loud, partially with relief and excitement that he was pursuing me. We fell in love very quickly, and married after dating for 2 years. We've been married almost 2 more years and live in his dream house. Just before we were married, I found out he had a ton of money he saved up since he was a kid. While his extroverted friends blew their money, he studied finance and investing on his own. Wisest, most disciplined, kind-hearted man I know. TLDR, armed only with courage and cheap body splash, I put my sweaty self into my introvert's reach and held on tight. And he liked it. Deleted. Male introverts. I'm introverted, not socially retarded. Mine was once actually a long-time friend of mine. She had moved into town sometime in elementary school and we somehow became friends. Over the years we were in and out of each other's lives, sometimes being in the same classes and spending a lot of time together, other times not sharing classes and rarely interacting over the course of the year. I never considered her as anything more than a friend, as I often had crushes on other people that would, of course, end horribly for me due mostly to my introversion. After the end of a particularly long time and heartbreaking crush, I had decided I had given up on looking for anyone for the time being and would just wait it out. That summer, my would-be girlfriend and I ended up seeing a lot of movies together with other friends. After one in particular, a friend of my girlfriend randomly asked if the two of us were dating. My soon-to-be girlfriend and I awkwardly exchanged glances before she decided to respond with no. Although later that night we were texting, and we started talking about that awkward moment, and before long we were asking each other if we wanted to be dating, to which we both enthusiastically answered yes. So after approximately 9 years of purely platonic friendship, we decided to give dating a shot. Here we are now, a year and 8 months later, still hopelessly in love. I didn't. I had to do some digging, and it was a lot of hard work, but the hard part is out of the way now. Just have to have her corpse nice and moist from now on. Coed soccer. She hated me for 2 years of working together, then when she went through a bad breakup I offered emotional support. A week or so later I asked her to go for a drink to chat and now we've been together going on 5 years. Sometimes patience and kindness can win. I told her she eats like a giraffe. Not GF but BF. Had just been broken up with by my high school sweetheart a week before senior year. A friend from another school invited me to meet to a hotel sleepover party. We were good kids, so no alcohol or drugs, and told me the only guy there was practically gay. I almost didn't go cause I'm not a party person, and I didn't know anyone but her. We all became great friends and continued the platonic boy/girl sleepovers. Later that year him and I got super flirty, and I figured out he wasn't gay. He just makes a lot of dick jokes and had never had a girlfriend. We started dating right after graduation and it's been 7 years now and we're planning our wedding for the end of the summer. I haven't. I met my wife on a blind date, months after telling our mutual friend that I would never go on another blind date after a disastrous blind date experience years earlier. Turns out she was telling this mutual friend of ours the same thing. Thankfully, our friend didn't give up that easily. Eventually, I caved. We went to a comedy show. I took a glow stick to the eye, combined it with another one that she caught, and used the connectors to make a crown type thing for her. I actually came across it as I was moving boxes a couple of days ago. Fond memories. Anyway, we were having a great time, so we stopped by Wendy's for some Frosties. Ended up talking in the parking lot of her apartment complex until about 3 a.m. Dated for several months, got engaged, ended up getting married. Around 8 months from first date to wedding day. Now it's 2 months and 1 week until our 4th anniversary. There's a common misconception about introverts, that we're antisocial. We're not antisocial. It's just that socializing can be draining, so we prefer to spend that energy wisely. I hate idle chit-chat with distant relatives or strangers, but I can talk for hours about shared interests with my wife or my brother-in-law. Point is, my wife was worth it. I met my then girlfriend on EverQuest. I was a hobbit, she was a high elf. We got married in-game back when the GMs would hold marriage ceremonies. We've been married 16 years. Edit, fix autocorrect mistake. What is a girlfriend? Gaming. Girls often have this female gamer stereotype and get the constant OMG show boobs messages after games. I talked to her like she's a human being and we got chatting outside of games, then started Skyping. After a few weeks we met up and now have been dating 3 years. I was recently and painfully out of a long-term relationship. I decided I was done with looking for a new wife. So a friend told me he had a really great woman for me. Of course I laughed. I'd been there 100 times already. Then when he told me she lived 10,000 miles away, I laughed even harder. It was so improbable that anything would. One of this that I emailed her. What could happen? A few hundred emails and voice chats later, I flew to China to meet her. She and her family were awesome. Even better, her description of herself online was completely honest. It took more than a year to get her a fiancé visa. We've now been happily married for 10 years. My mother and her mother had worked together for about a year. One day we showed up to the same event, and I noticed she came into the event driving her truck. I wanted to talk to her so badly, but she daunted me. She is beautiful, sweet, ferocious, and so much more. So it intimidated me, so I took a note from my middle school's self. I left a note on the windshield of her truck. She texted me about an hour after the party. We met up at a local joint a week later, and after our second date she declared we were a couple. I'm asking her to marry me next week. I won't let her have that on me. TLDR, she basically told me we were dating. What's a girlfriend? Ran a D&D game at a local coffee shop. I shit you not. Chicks dig D&D. Boyfriend, but we both worked backstage on the show as stagehands, so we spent several hours a day for a week just off stage in the dark with no one else to talk to. Actors can't hang around right beside the stage, and he's a lot more talkative than I was, so it works out. I think he's a bigger introvert than I am. I met him at a music festival Reddit meetup I set up. We spent the entire day at the festival together, losing the others by mistake when we went to check out a smaller stage for some techno. Hung out a couple times after the festival, but it took us getting drunk, me continuously touching his chest and arms and then almost yelling at him to get into bed next to me for him to realize I was into him. He asked me out the next day, but I turned him down because he lives in another country and I didn't know if I wanted to do long distance. About a month after he went back home, I went to visit a best friend who lives in the same state as he does. It took some more booze, and him meeting my best friend way too early, but I changed my mind about going out, and we're together now. 3. I was at a party. Pretty sure this thread is full of people who think they are introverts but probably aren't. My boyfriend was part of the group of gaming friends I was new to. We would get on a TeamSpeak server and play games and talk as a group. I was super shy and hardly ever talked. One day him and I were on alone and we talked a little. I tried to message him later with an excuse to talk to him, but he was shy and I was shy, so I didn't try very hard to start a conversation. I didn't really hear from him for nearly a month, until he asked in the group chat if anyone wanted to play a certain game with him. I was the only one in the group that played it, so I pinged him and told him I knew a server we could use. We never ended up playing. The next morning, he messaged me good morning. I was so confused and had no idea whatsoever why he would want to, but I was also flattered, so I started talking to him. I immediately knew I liked him, but I assumed, being the shy introvert I am, that he already had a pretty girlfriend, was just being nice, or that he didn't want to date a girl who lived on the other side of the country. We spent a month talking as friends before he asked me to be his girlfriend. We've been together 11 months to the day and I could never wish for a better person. Smile.